Good afternoon to all, and welcome to the Fall 2019 State of the College Address. For those that don't know me, my name is Greg Ford, and I'm very proud to say that I'm an alum of Daemen College, class of 95, and just as proud to say that this is starting my 20th year here as full-time faculty, as well as the chair of the PT department. My family knows that this is my home away from home, so for some 27 years, if I'm not home, I'm typically here, so I'm very proud to say that. I have this distinct honor and privilege of introducing our speaker for today's address, the president of Daemen College, Dr. Gary Olson. An easy transition point for my introduction is simply to state the word momentum. Momentum is defined scientifically as the quantity of motion of a moving body, measured as a product of its mass and velocity. Daemen College is that moving body. We are not static, nor simply repetitive in our delivery of higher education. Dr. Olson sees to it that the velocity of its movement, meaning the distance that Damon is traveling or its direction as per time, is purposeful, far-reaching, and resolute. Momentum, or perhaps better stated, unremitting momentum, is what comes to mind when I think of Dr. Olson's tenure and leadership here at Damon. Now in his 7th year as president, Daemen College's momentum has not simply sustained us as an institution in this very tumultuous higher education environment, but rather, Dr. Olson has positioned the college and all who resides within to be a model of excellence, not only strategically navigating turbulent waters, but being a beacon for others to follow. Through his leadership, Dr. Olson has shepherded the enrichment of numerous factions at the college. The recognition Damon has received as a college of distinction has vastly broadened the outreach and visibility of all that we have to offer, not only for our students, but for recruitment and retention of faculty and staff as well. Our current campus beautification has truly changed the face of the college, and the plans in the making for the future are destined to further beautify the physical space and be one that students will ever want to be a part of. The forward momentum of the college has allowed for the designation of Damon by Carnegie as one of only 3 doctoral institutions in Western New York. And we recently named our multi-campus institution by the state of New York with the addition of the Brooklyn campus. The emergence of the Academic and Wellness Center and all that it has to offer students, both in education and health and wellness, speaks volumes to the holistic view and approach that our president, Dr. Olson, has towards the development of our students, who will all be well equipped with the tools necessary to be future community leaders. Most recent renovations to Curtis Hall to house Ignite, the extensive Duns Scotus Science Laboratory renovations, along with the expansion of the counseling and health services for our students in the CHIP Center, are all exemplars of the forward-thinking nature of Dr. Olson, which again propelled Damon with continuous momentum into the future. On this day, where we will all hear about our status of where we are and where we are going, I predict that a common theme will likely be momentum. That is onward, upward, and progressive as it has been since Dr. Olson arrived. Please join me with a warm welcome for Dr. Gary A. Olson, president of Daemen College, who will deliver the State of the College address.
Thank you, Dr. Ford. Very kind words. And I want to thank you and all your colleagues in the Department of Physical Therapy for all you do to distinguish the college, not only here in Western New York, but literally throughout the nation. Just last weekend, one of our biggest donors was telling me that recently she was injured in Florida, and she visited a PT, a local PT there, and in her words, that PT was wonderful. And as it turned out, that wonderful PT was a Daemen graduate. So thanks again for all you and your colleagues do. So good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see everybody as we begin what I think is going to be a very promising academic year. I'd like to begin by introducing the newest members of the professoriate. And I'll ask each of the faculty members to stand when I name him or her and to remain standing until everybody is standing. And so please hold your applause until everybody's been called. Professor Deborah Napolitano, who is Assistant Professor of Applied Behavior Analysis. Professor Ashley Brem, who is Assistant Professor of Applied Behavior Analysis and Graduate Education. Professor Anthony Suris, Assistant Professor of Athletic Training. Professor Kelly Kotwicki, Assistant Professor of Applied Behavior Analysis. Professor Mary Iwanenko, the Assistant Professor of Graduate Occupational Therapy. Professor Elizabeth Heilman, Associate Professor of Education, Professor Patricia Johnson, Visiting Professor of Accounting, Professor Catherine Anson, Assistant Professor of Modern Languages, Professor Kurt Blankenshane, Assistant Professor of Philosophy and Religion, Professor Mary Alice Hall, Associate Professor of Nursing, Professor Meredith Lang, Visiting Assistant Professor of Natural Science, Professor Beth Eitzenhauser, Visiting Assistant Professor of Natural Sciences, and Professor Darren Treadway, Visiting Assistant Professor of Business Administration. Please help me welcome the newest members of Daemen's first-rate faculty. Now, we also hired many new staff members, 38 to be exact. Would all of the members of the staff please rise, the new ones, so we can welcome you officially to Daemen. And while we're recognizing new people, I'd like to mention a few other new members of the Daemen community. The Daemen Board of Trustees continues to recruit first-rate leaders to the board. A strong governing board, as you know, such as Daemen's, ensures a really strong institution. And at recent meetings, the board appointed 4 new trustees. Sister Joanne Grabowski has replaced Sister Edith Wiss on the board. Now, a licensed psychologist, she graduated from Rosary Hill in 1973 with a degree in English. And she earned an MA and a PhD in counseling psychology from UB. She's published scholarly research on fetal alcohol syndrome and on autism in such journals as School Psychology Quarterly and the Journal of Psychopathology and Behavioral Assessment. Also new to the board is Mr. Stephen Zenger. He is president and CEO of Zenger Group, which has been a leader in Western New York's printing industry for more than 30 years. He served on Printing Industry of America's National Board and is the chairman of the organization's New York affiliate. He currently serves on the board and executive committee of Buffalo-Niagara Partnership and on the Westminster Economic Development Initiative. He's the past chair of the Erie Community College Graphic Art Department's Education Council, and he earned his bachelor's degree in communication from Buff State. And also appointed was Mr. Scott Friedman. He is the chairman of Lippis, Matthias, Wexler, and Friedman. He's a general partner in Impact Capital of New York, which is a venture capital fund. And he's a principal of Delphi 21 Advisors, which is a business advisory firm. He's the author of 7 books and numerous articles on business, as well as an entrepreneur in residence at the U of Buffalo's School of Management. And he earned his BA from Trinity College, a JD from Washington University School of Law, and an LLM from the University of Pennsylvania School of Law. And he'll obviously bring much to our stellar board. And now an especially impressive appointment to the board was recent Dr. Candice Johnson, President and CEO of Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center. Johnson, who's been serving as a member of the Daemen Community Advisory Board, is the first woman to serve as CEO and president of Roswell Park, where she is also the Wallace Family Chair in Translational Research and a professor of oncology. Now, she previously served as deputy director and chair of the Department of Pharmacology and Therapeutics. And before joining Roswell Park, she was deputy director of basic research at the University of Pittsburgh's Cancer Institute. And she is the author and co-author of nearly 200 journal publications, book chapters, and abstracts. She's the senior editor of Molecular Cancer Therapeutics and associate editor of Molecular and Cellular Differentiation Oncology and Molecular Pharmacology. And she's also a member of the editorial board of Oncology Reports and Molecular Pharmacology. So she earned her doctorate degree in immunology from Ohio State University. And clearly she brings great prestige to the Daemen board. We're glad to have all 4 of these people. Now, while we're speaking of new additions, I should mention that we recently announced the appointment of Mary Glenn as Vice President for Institutional Advancement. She is an accomplished fundraising professional with more than 20 years of experience in higher education. She oversees the area of development, alumni relations, publications, and marketing and communication. And she comes to Damon from the University at Buffalo, where she served as Senior Director of Development for Health Sciences. She led the major gifts programs and supervised the advancement team in schools of nursing, social work, and public health and health professions. And she earned both her bachelor's and master's degree from SUNY Cortland. She's also a graduate of Leadership Niagara. Mary, would you stand and be recognized, please? Now, as I informed you recently in a letter to campus, we've got some really excellent news vis-a-vis student enrollment. I'm delighted to report that we have the largest entering class in 5 years. We began the semester with 423 first-year students. Last year at that time, our first-year class was 338. Damon has not had an entering class over 400 in 5 years. Our graduate enrollment is also up considerably, 174 as opposed to 125. And the number of registered transfer students started out flat, it's down a little slightly now, but it's still not bad at all. And this is a huge turnaround year for the college as we look to push the accelerator to 450 students, new students, next year. Also, this year's entering class is academically strong with an average GPA of 91.4. That's a very important thing to me personally. I'd like to ask our enrollment management professionals to please stand and be recognized. Enrollment management. I'm also pleased to report that our 6-year graduation rate has now reached an all-time high as well, 61.6%. 10 years ago, it was only 47%. And the members of our STEP task force and many other people across campus have worked hard to create and continue the impressive progress which we've been undergoing. And this has been a major priority for 7 years. I'd like to ask our STEP task force members, if you're here, to please stand and be recognized. STEP task force. Now, I want to put all this good news, though, in perspective. When you have a bad enrollment year, as most New York colleges have had for 2 successive years, thanks to the free tuition program, that small class stays with you for 4 or 5 years until the small classes graduate. And that means even though you may have just brought in a large new class, your existing small class decreases your overall number of students, and thus, of course, your overall revenue. So while we're now on a great trajectory, we'll be haunted by our 2 low years for some years to come. But nonetheless, we're on a great trajectory, so thanks to everyone you just applauded. By the way, we just received the college's official 2016 3-year cohort student loan default rate, which is now at an all-time low, historic low, of 3.4%, which is down a whole percent from last year. Just to put this into perspective, the national average last year was 10.8% of default. And a good reason for this national distinction is the financial literacy programming sponsored by LEADS and by the Office of Financial Aid. And I'd like to ask Kim Pagano, who coordinates the LEADS part of the programming, and Jeff Pagano of Financial Aid to stand and be recognized for their superb work. Now, summer break is always a time to complete construction and renovation projects and to address deferred maintenance. And this summer was no exception. Some of the key projects include the completion of a number of campus apartment improvements thanks to some deferred maintenance dollars. The apartments are dated and still have an antiquated key system. We were able to transform these apartments and to add card access to 3 of the buildings. Over time, we hope to transition the entire campus to card access building for every building. So that's a wish for all of us. In addition, we created a new Center for Diversity and Inclusion in the SPOT, which, as you know, is the Student One-Stop Service area in Duns Scotus that we created last year. 5 years ago, we created the Office of Diversity and Multicultural Affairs and hired our first diversity officer. Now we have a new center, and thanks to generous grant from the Booth Ferris Foundation, we'll be able to hire a second full-time staff member as well. Over the past year, we've raised the funds to create a new student recreation space behind the Wick Student Center. We took an underutilized space with a sand volleyball court in disrepair and transformed it with a new volleyball court, a basketball court, lighting, a fire pit, and seating. And the new recreational space, which soon will include new landscaping, will be transformative, I think, for the student experience and includes better lighting for safety. So it's a real plus, I think, for the college. And it's used apparently all night, from what I gather. Perhaps the most noticeable change this summer is a makeover of our external appearance of the gym. The brown brick was painted gray to match the rest of the building facing Main Street, giving for the first time a consistent and coherent appearance to the college's frontage. And we believe this change has already made a major difference in the college's overall appearance. All these things come down to marketing the college and making it a place that people want to live and think of as a nice place, and these things pay off. I was told by somebody who has worked on these things for 30 years here at Daemen that he's gotten more calls about that gym than any other project he's done in the 30 years. So positive calls. And during Founders Celebration, we held ribbon-cutting ceremonies for the reopening of Curtis Hall and for the completion of the most recent phase of the science facilities renovations. If you have not had a chance to visit the newly refurbished Curtis Hall, I hope you'll take time to see what the transformation it's undergone. It's really quite nice. And as you know, the renovation of the college's science facilities have been a major priority now for several years. This summer we completed the most important, or most recent anyway, not the most important phase of that project. All told, we've renovated 11 labs and learning spaces. Importantly, this work was created the groundwork for us to begin air conditioning all of Duns Scotus eventually, which in and of itself will be a huge advance for the college. And speaking of air conditioning, we have begun work to provide air conditioning for the administrative suite and athletics, another first for the college. Just in time for winter, I reminded athletics. And while we're on the subject of cool air, I should mention that another major project over this summer was replacing the antiquated chiller in Schenck Hall. Now, this replacement has been a high priority on our deferred maintenance list. The existing unit was failing, and it was just a matter of time before it quit working altogether. Now, replacing the Schenck Hall chiller is especially important because it houses, among other things, the cadaver lab. So a failure of the internal climate control there could have been a disaster. So one of the many renovations completed this summer was in athletics. The complete modernization of the women's locker rooms. This has been a need for athletics for a long time, and we were finally able to bring this project to fruition this summer thanks entirely to external funding. And speaking of athletics, I should mention that as a result of the men's basketball team's great success during the last season, the team was selected for the Small College Basketball Hall of Fame Classic, which is played in early November in St. Joseph's, Missouri. They'll play against the defending national champion, Northwest Missouri State. So that's quite a distinction, only 4 years into the NCAA. And also, the men's basketball team will play 2 high-visibility exhibition games in October, one against Syracuse University and one against UB. An exhibition game against UB 3 years ago was a very close game. The UB president said to me after the game, "You guys came way too close for comfort." The final score was 87-82. So I think I'm looking very much forward to this one. And in November, the men's basketball team will participate in a high-visibility doubleheader at the Key Bank Center, which is a showcase of 2 Division I and 2 Division II powerhouses. Our team will play Wilmington University from Delaware, and Canisius College and St. Bonaventure will play immediately following our game. So that ought to be, give quite a lot of visibility to the college. And if that were not enough in athletics, the men's volleyball team will be bringing 3 high-profile Division I opponents to Lumsden Gym in January. Over a 2-week period, the Wildcats will play UCLA, Pepperdine, and Harvard. Can you believe it? Now we're looking forward to all these various high-profile games throughout the next few months. And if you're not a sports person, and I'm not deeply a sports person, but I do follow Daemen athletics. But if you're not, just remember this. This is a great reason for lots of students to enroll at Daemen and stay at Daemen. And as it turns out, our athletes have traditionally, at least in the last bunch of years, had a higher GPA than the average of all the students in general. So, okay, so over the summer, we made substantial progress in upgrading, streamlining, and protecting the college's core technology. For example, as a major security enhancement, we recently initiated multi-factor authentication throughout the campus in order to protect all of the Daemen accounts. And as you know, multi-factor authentication means that in order to log into your account, you'll need not only your ID and your password, but you'll also need to enter a code that you receive on a separate device, such as a cell phone. So now all students, faculty, and staff are participating in this key security program, and it's an important one given the bad things happening out there. And our Phishing Awareness Committee continues to be very innovative. They have focused on reducing the college's overall phish-prone susceptibility rate. They actually measure these things by providing instant feedback and training when faced with phishing attempts. The newest initiative is to place positive reinforcement and rewarding those who are vigilant with their emails. And you may have seen one of these positive initiatives if you received, as I did, believe it or not, a thank you email for correctly identifying their latest phishing message as spam. So I'm told I'm a superhero of some sort. They also plan to highlight offices and departments on campus who collectively do well in avoiding phishing as well. Now, you may have noticed that our My Daemen internal website had been in real need of overhaul. Over the past year, many of you completed surveys and participated in focus groups that provided useful information leading to a whole redesign of My Daemen. The new My Daemen launched yesterday. Students, faculty, and staff now have access to improved search capability, mobile-friendly access to information, more information at your fingertips, and the ability to personalize your My Daemen experience. And I'm especially pleased that our Blackboard learning management system was upgraded to the Ultra version just in time for the fall semester. Now, Blackboard Ultra provides an improved intuitive interface. It keeps the college's learning system cutting edge, and that's important nowadays. Our instructional designers, Peter Schilke and Eric Hill, continue to run training sessions and boot camps and are available for faculty who want to learn more about getting the most that they can from that system. In fact, I'd like to ask all of our IT professionals to please stand and be recognized for all of that. That's just a taste of what they've been doing. Now, as I said, these are just a few of many major developments implemented by IT this summer. With that being said, it's sad to report that our Vice President for Information Technology, Kelly Duran, will be leaving us on October 1. In her tenure as the college's first CIO, she has accomplished miracles. She's helped create and lead the college's first centralized IT organization, launched and completely rebuilt and redesigned college website, created a centralized IT help desk, implemented a new campus-wide phone system, established internet redundancy for the whole campus, initiated the migration and consolidation of all our servers and equipment, and conducted an aggressive campus-wide cybersecurity campaign. And that's just a few of her accomplishments. So Kelly, would you rise and let us thank you for all you've done. Now, this summer we had to put our ambitious plan for growth on our Brooklyn campus on hold due to substantial concern that we would not receive our numerous approvals from the New York State Department of Education, my favorite place in New York, in a timely fashion. The original plan was to lease a fairly large space, 32,000 square feet, on 2 floors, in a very attractive building, and to build out that space to accommodate 3 key academic programs in the health sciences: physical therapy, physician assistant studies, and occupational therapy. That plan is on hold, but despite this setback, we've been quite busy building our existing Brooklyn programs. We expect continued growth in our graduate programs across accounting, special education, social work, and applied behavior analysis. And specifically, we expect at least a 15% increase in enrollment for our programs in Brooklyn, exceeding 480 students during this term. And over the summer, academic affairs officials conducted a pretty thorough market analysis. They completed due diligence, and they're now finalizing a business plan for a doctoral program in occupational therapy in Brooklyn. And this program is predicated on enrolling 45 students annually. The accrediting body for occupational therapy has already placed the college in their external accrediting cycle for this program. And academic affairs has identified an appropriate space in Brooklyn and has received the first draft of a letter of intent, which they'll present to me along with a business plan within the next few weeks for my review. If I approve the program as proposed, we'll seek board approval to enter into a lease. Also in Brooklyn, we have been finalizing 3 online baccalaureate programs: business, psychology, and liberal studies, as well as a non-matriculated prerequisite program that will feed into our graduate programs. And finally, we're also going to be meeting with Sloan Kettering and Mount Sinai hospitals in October to propose a master's in cytotechnology using the very same curriculum design as our Damon Roswell Park program, which is a 4+1 BS and MS. So as you can see, while we had to put the more grandiose program on the back burner for now, we're still moving forward with all due haste to develop the Brooklyn campus programming that we do have. And as you know, the college has experienced substantial momentum over the last several years. You heard Greg say that. This was driven in great part by our ambitious strategic plan and our master plan. And it's hard to believe that it's already time to begin drafting the next iteration of these 2 plans, both of which end in 2020. Toward that end, we've impaneled 2 steering committees to direct work on the 2 new 5-year plans. And as is typical, these committees will impanel various subcommittees and work committees to work on specific parts of the plans and to solicit campus-wide input throughout the entire process. Sometime in the near future, I'm sure you'll be receiving communication from the 2 steering committees with details of the processes for both. And I hope you'll agree to be part of these very important efforts to map out the college's aspirations for the future. Over the past several months, the college has been working on a rebranding initiative in an effort to strengthen its brand identity and to help develop a cohesive awareness about the college. We've been collaborating with Martin Group to conduct the necessary research to evaluate our current brand. And this research will be used as a guide for developing potential taglines and logos and things of that sort. We'll be soliciting the input of the campus community in the months to come for residence testing on various options presented by the Martin Group. And more details will follow as the process progresses there too. And I do hope you'll be part of that and give as much input as you can. I want to call your attention to just a few instances of national recognition that the college received since our last meeting. I've pointed out in the past that a sure sign of our national competitiveness is when an entire graduating class in a particular discipline passes the national certification exam on the very first attempt, thereby far exceeding the national average, which typically for these kind of programs is in the 80 percentile. Several of our graduating classes have an unbroken 100% first-time pass rate, including physician assistant studies, physical therapy, nursing, probably a few others, Recently, our athletics training graduates continued their unbroken record. For the 7th consecutive year, they earned a 100% first-time pass rate on the National Athletics Training Association Board of Certification exam, far surpassing the national average of 82.7%. That's national distinction. Just another bit of national distinction of many. Will the members of the athletic training program please rise and be recognized? For the 12th consecutive year, the college has been selected as a National College of Distinction in recognition of the institution's excellence in undergraduate higher education. This is also the 3rd year the college has earned special program recognition from them in business, education, and nursing. And this is all because of Daemen's blending of liberal arts education, program-specific training, and opportunities for real-world application. Selection for the distinction is based on the institution's first-year student experience, retention efforts, our general education programs, student satisfaction, alumni success, and a number of other factors that they won't tell us. But it's a pretty good, extensive review of the college. And for the 4th consecutive year, Damon has been ranked nationally in the prestigious Wall Street Journal Times Higher Education rankings, which are based on student success and learning. The rankings include results from a survey of more than 170,000 current college students to assess such areas as student engagement with their studies, interaction with teachers, overall student satisfaction with their experience. And Damon placed in the top 23 in engagement of all colleges ranked in New York State, and is ranked number 11 among private colleges in the state for best value and for low student debt after graduation. And that's all really good. Also, Dr. Jack Peltz, Assistant Professor of Psychological Sciences, has been selected as one of the winners of the 2018 Reuben Hill Award by the National Council on Family Relations. Now, the Reuben Hill Award is presented to the authors of the best research article from the prior year that makes a significant impact to family research and theory. This is yet another national distinction. In fact, Jack, are you here? Would you stand and be recognized? There he is. While we're recognizing high distinctions, I hope will join me in congratulating Dr. Martha Kershaw, who just recently completed her EDD at Concordia University. Her dissertation is entitled "The Relationship Between Nursing Faculty Incivility and New Graduate Nurse Confidence During Transition to Practice, a Correlational Study." What a great accomplishment. Dr. Kershaw, would you stand and be recognized? And I'm delighted to report that Damon has been named among the nation's best universities in the 2020 U.S. News and World Report Best Colleges Rankings. This is the first time in the college's history that it's been included on the National Universities list. According to the report, schools in the National Universities category offer a full range of undergraduate majors plus master's and doctoral programs, and are also committed to producing groundbreaking research. Damon is ranked number 263 of 399 public and private universities from throughout the U.S. And the college shares the spot with, these are some pretty good institutions: New Mexico State University, Old Dominion University, the University of Alabama in Huntsville, the University of Missouri in Kansas City, the University of North Dakota, and the University of South Dakota. So pretty good company. And the college is only one of 3 institutions in the Buffalo-Niagara region to be included on the National Universities list. And while we're on this, Damon is also ranked number 56 among national universities in the new category called social mobility, which is a listing that measures how well students graduate and that have also received Pell Grants. So that's a very good indicator, too, of what we're doing. On the newly created list, Damon comes in number 7 among national universities in New York State and is one of only 2 private institutions in Western New York in that social mobility category. So again, great work all of you are participating in. Now, these are just a few of the distinctions Damon's received in the last few months, and just a few of the individuals who have also distinguished themselves and the college. Let's applaud all of the faculty and staff that I didn't mention who have also done distinguished things in these last months. Now, I hope you've had a chance to attend some of the events in the annual Founders Celebration. The 2-day series of events began with the ceremonial ringing of Founders Bell, once for each of the college's 7 decades. Representing the faculty was Dr. Greg Ford, and representing the emeritus faculty was Dr. Alex Pleshkevich. I think I got it right. Wonderful guy. And also included in the events were the grand openings of the renovated Curtis Hall and the next phase of the science facility renovations that I mentioned. And also Daemen Day in Amherst was quite successful, as many faculty, staff, and students took advantage of the many discounts offered by businesses throughout the area. And the Damon Decorated Door Contest produced some very interesting candidates for the $200 prize. You can see some of the candidates on the screen. I'm sure the independent judges had a difficult time deciding the 3 prize winners. 3rd place went to the Department of Public Health. 2nd place went to financial aid. And the 1st place winner was Student Affairs. So please help me congratulate the 3 prize winners. In fact, let's applaud all of the participants in that contest. Now, as always, Founders Celebration ends with the annual gala to raise funds for student scholarships. At this year's event, I was delighted to announce that the college's first ever comprehensive campaign is way ahead of schedule. We have reached 95% of our campaign goal. This is a real tribute to all of us because it demonstrates that our friends and donors have great confidence in us and the great momentum that the college has experienced in the last several years. So congratulations to you all. I'd like to ask our institutional advancement professionals, though, to rise and be recognized for all the work they've done to help us get there. So, institutional advancement. So, as you can see, we've made a great deal of progress over the summer, and we're well positioned for another, I think, very productive year, not only on our Brooklyn campus, but here on the Amherst campus. And I'd like to once again thank each and every one of you for being here today and for everything you do to make our great college such a special place. And now I'd like to invite you to join Dr. Worsham and myself for refreshments and stimulating conversation. Thanks again. Let's have another great year. Thank you.